Happy Easter from Atlantis. Hey, I'm Old Nerd. It's Easter, and I'm still unboxing a lot of my books from storage. We moved, and my books have been boxed up and stored away for the last 2.5 years, and I'm still opening boxes of books. I just brought this back from storage and opened this box. This box was just labeled Atlantis. I'm kind of fascinated by Atlantis. I'm no expert on Atlantis, but anytime I'm out and about looking at used books, it seems like more often than not, I would find one that had Atlantis in the title, that was like a nonfiction look at the perhaps real historical Atlantis. Lots of fiction though. And also a few related topics as well. But anytime I'd go out looking, it seems like I'd find a book on Atlantis, and I just started getting them. When I'd find them, I'd get them, because you'd be at the used bookstore when you'd find them, so they're only 50 cents, $3, something like that anyway. So I'm going to go through these. So what you see right here, this is just one pile. There's another stack over here. There's another stack over here. There's another stack over there. Like, I got quite a bit. I had a big box full, just books about Atlantis. So let's go through a few of these. One of the things that I discovered while I was getting into Atlantis, I guess, and the books that were made about Atlantis, was this series by Greg Donegan, the Atlantis series. And there's 6 books, and I found a whole set of them someplace. I don't know if I bought these off of eBay or if I found them somewhere in my rounds of used bookstores. I don't know, but they're pretty cool. I like them. I haven't read them yet. I haven't read most of this stuff, so like most of my books, like most of my comics, I haven't read them. This was kind of Atlantis adjacent. Journey of the Pharaohs by Clive Cussler. This is a novel from the Numa Files. This one was pretty rough. I don't remember where I found this one, but this one is adjacent, Atlantis adjacent, if it has to do with like ancient Egypt. There's some school of thought who study Atlantis and where it may possibly been. There's some school of thought that the people of ancient Egypt were descendants of the people from Atlantis. So this may very well be Atlantis adjacent. I'm not sure. Here's one that I just kind of found out in the wild, I should say. Harry Harrison and Leon Stover, Stonehenge, where Atlantis died. I think this is this fiction? Yeah, this is fiction. Because Harry Harrison wrote The Stainless Steel Rat, and a bunch of sci-fi or fantasy maybe. Here's another one, Atlantis Raising Atlantis by Thomas Greenius. I don't remember what it is about this one, but this is his first novel. He's got a real good blurb on here from Nelson DeMille, so that's a good sign. This should be a fun, looks like one of those like political thriller types. The Treasure of Atlantis, J. Allen Dunn. I don't know. This looks like this is probably fiction. Yep. It's an old book from, I would say, the 60s. The Book Rack. Road. Treasure of Atlantis. Old book. 1970. First published in December 1916, but this edition is from 1970. Here's another older one, The Singing Cave. This, I'm into the young adult books, young reader books. This just kind of looked like it could very well be Atlantis adjacent, but we'll have to read it to see. Atlantis Rising by Brad Steiger. So this is one of the researchers type books. This is not fiction. This is nonfiction. So that's a researcher looking at Atlantis. Here's some science fiction, Attack from Atlantis by Lester Del Rey. This is probably an old book, but this is a nice Del Rey science fiction copy from probably the early 80s, I'm guessing. But this book was originally written in 1953. So this is the second printing from 1982. It's a nice copy too. It's really nice condition. Here's a couple from H. Warner Munn, who I've recently discovered, gotten into. I read his Werewolf of Ponkert books, the stories on werewolves in ancient Europe, or not ancient Europe, medieval Europe. But he also wrote these, and these, I believe, have to do with Atlantis as well, and Merlin. Merlin is a descendant of Atlantis, or from Atlantis, I believe, in this series. The Romance of Atlantis. I don't know if this must be like a romance fantasy, maybe? I don't know. But interesting nonetheless. I'll give it a try someday if I feel like it. Lost Horizon. This is the book that the classic film is based on, by James Hilton. This is a really nice old copy that I found someplace. It's got some battle damage, but really nice condition for as old as it is. When was this printed? I don't know if it'll tell us. 65th printing, August 1967. Originally published in 1933. But this is one that's been on my list to read. Maricot Deep by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I don't know. Oh, right. A novel of adventure in Atlantis by the author of Sherlock Holmes. Pretty neat. Old fantasy adventure book. Sargasso. This is kind of Atlantis adjacent because it has to do with the Bermuda Triangle. I don't remember. I just found this out in the wild someplace and picked it up. It's really nice condition. It's got to be from the early 70s, I would say, but really nice shape. 1977. First printing. First Dell printing, 1978. Yeah, it's in really nice condition. Oh, and then we have the famous Charles Berlitz books. Atlantis, the Eighth Continent, the Bermuda Triangle, and Without a Trace. So those are pretty famous research books, research-type nonfiction books. The Bermuda Triangle, again, adjacent to Atlantis, in my mind. Don't know what this is. This looks like another probably research book on the disappearances that happen in the Bermuda Triangle. And then Inner Earth is, I consider the concept of Inner Earth, or a world underneath the surface of the Earth, Atlantis adjacent, ancient civilizations that are still around or are fabled. But these Edgar Rice Burroughs books of Pellucidar, a bunch of adventures that take place in the center of the Earth. Here's a great Frazetta cover. Another one. But I think Pellucidar is the first one, maybe. Maybe it isn't. Thrilling Adventures Inside the Hollow Earth. I've never read these, but since they are, and here's one where, like Tarzan, Edgar Rice Burroughs' other property, crosses over with the land of beneath the earth, and this must be a pastiche novel, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. And we have Letters from Atlantis by Robert Silverberg. Very nice paperback copy. Lords of Atlantis. Thrilling science fiction novel of the great legend Atlantis. This is an old timer here. This is, let's see how old this, oh, look how small that print is. 1963. Book was written in 1960. This came out in 63. The Lost Continent. Story of Atlantis. Introduction by Lynn Carter. I don't know C.J. Cutliff Hine, but Lynn Carter wrote a lot of Conan novels. Here's one that I've just found out in the wild someplace. The Lost Continent of Mu, kind of Atlantis adjacent, and a whole other, I believe, civilization or continent that supposedly disappeared tens of thousands of years ago. But this is an old book as well. The Xanadu Library, isn't that a cool? I've never heard of it. What are some of these other books? Kai Lung's Golden Hours, Jurgen, The Lost Continent of Mu, The Secret of Abhor Valley. These are just some neat looking books coming out of this printer. Copyright 1931, 20th printing, October 1961. Yeah, I'm not sure what this is about, but again, like I said, Atlantis adjacent. Let's see. The Search for Planet X. This is an old book that I don't even know where I found this one. Copyright 1962, first printing 1965. But this is like a young reader's book, I think, about Planet X. The wormwood, Nibiru, the planet that comes in and out of our solar system, I guess. I consider that topic Atlantis adjacent as well. Tom Swift and the Visitor from Planet X. Nice old copy of. I've never read any Tom Swift books, but I'm looking forward to this one. This cover is great. Another young reader's book, The Lost City. A Rick Brandt electronic adventure. Never heard of this guy, but what is he? He's got a camera and headphones. What's his deal? Takes so many thrilling adventures and baffling mysteries involving science and electronics. Interesting. Looks like he's a photographer, kind of. I think that's an old camera. I'm not sure why he has headphones. Maybe he had a microphone. Maybe that's a movie camera. I don't know. But another one that I'm interested. Here's yet a third. The Radio Boys Seek the Lost Atlantis. This is it's got a nice dust jacket with a clear cover. I don't know. Is this what you consider a library edition or a reprint? I mean, this printing is kind of off center. Like, I wonder if this cover was remade. Like somebody made a new dust jacket for this book. But this is a pretty old one. I don't remember where I found this one either. But I've never read any Radio Boys books. Here's a more modern one, Atlantis, The Accidental Invasion. Free uncorrected proof, not for sale. Interesting. Probably found this at like a used book sale. Down in State College, they have a really good used book sale every May. It's coming up actually real soon. But there's tons of really good books in there. I think that's where I found this one. Just another modern young readers. Here's an old one, Thaddeus Lowe, America's One-Man Air Corps. So this has to do with dirigibles, which loosely is kind of adjacent to ancient civilizations in Atlantis, or a previous civilization before our current civilization. But this one just seemed neat. Found this, don't even remember where I found this one, but it's in pretty decent condition. And here is another research book, The Lost Empire of Atlantis. The astonishing true story of the rise and violent end of the Minoans, the forgotten ancient civilization that discovered America and sparked the Atlantis legend. That one I'm not very familiar with, the Minoans. Here is another older book, Ignatius Donnelly, Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. This is an old-time book right here. Dust jacket's in pretty decent condition still. Must have found this in a used bookstore somewhere. Copyright 1949. The purpose of the book, Plato's History of Atlantis, the probabilities of Plato's story. Was such a catastrophe possible? So this is just looking at the myth all the way back in the 1940s. Rudolf Steiner, Atlantis and Lemuria. So this is kind of, I don't know if like Rudolf Steiner remote viewed this information or something like, I forget what the story is with this. But is it Rudolf Steiner that invented Theosophy? I think so. But this is just like his version of the history of Atlantis and Lemuria, another ancient sunken continent type civilization. When the sky fell in search of Atlantis. This has an introduction by Colin Wilson. That's interesting. So this is another like research book, more modern one though. Copyright 1995. That's a neat looking book. Lost Cities of Atlantis, Ancient Europe, and the Mediterranean. It's just a really nice trade paperback. Another nonfiction look at the possibility of historical Atlantis. The Hollow Earth, a science fiction novel by Rudy Rucker. Don't remember where I found this guy, but this is a nice book club edition of this. What is it? I've got a receipt in here. Cupboard Maker Books. Oh, that's a great bookstore right there. If you're ever near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, go to Cupboard Maker Books. It is a really good used bookstore. So that must be where I found this one. But this is just like a young reader's adventure. Zack the Bookstore Cat, Count Zacula. That's Cupboard Maker Books. They have a couple of bookstore cats that hang out there if you're into that kind of thing. Here's The Dancer from Atlantis. I also have a paperback copy of this, but this is a really nice hardcover with a dust jacket, book club edition. And it's a little dinged up in spots, but not terrible. I was just watching a video here on BookTube where they were talking about Paul Anderson, and they mentioned Dancer from Atlantis being kind of a stinker as far as Paul Anderson novels go. But it had to do with Atlantis, so I don't care. I just want it. I can't remember. Was it Grammaticus Books I was watching, maybe? I can't remember who told me about that. Okay, and the last pile, right here, dead ahead. Edgar Casey's Atlantis and Lemuria. Edgar Casey talked a lot about Atlantis, and that's kind of what sparked the whole modern movement of the fascination with Atlantis, because Edgar Casey claimed that it would be found and it would rise from the ocean, I believe. Atlantis in the Amazon. So here's another look at maybe where a possible location of Atlantis would be in the Amazon. The Wormwood Prophecy. I believe this, so Wormwood is Planet X, Nibiru, the what I talked about earlier, where the planet comes in and out of our solar system over like thousands of years, and when it comes in, it causes all kinds of destruction. So I think this is like a religious book that talks about how Wormwood's coming, and that kind of spells like the biblical end times, maybe. The Atlantis Adventure. I don't know what this is at all. Antoine Gagné. Gagné. I'm not sure how you pronounce that word. So this is just like an adventure story. It looks like it's probably from the old pulp magazines, I would say. Really nice. Lost Continent Library. I'm gonna have to look into them and see what else they have. If they have anything else cool like that. Survivors of Atlantis, their impact on world culture. This is another scientific look at how Atlantis, survivors from Atlantis influenced our modern history and civilization. Architects of the Underworld, Unriddling Atlantis, Anomalies of Mars, and the Mystery of the Sphinx. I don't know anything about this book. I found this one someplace and grabbed it like I do whenever I find books on Atlantis. Yeah, no idea where I found this one, but that looks cool. Letters from Atlantis by Robert Silverberg. I wonder, was it Dancer from Atlantis by Paul Anderson that I was just listening to on YouTube, or was it Letters from Atlantis by Robert Silverberg? I can't remember. But this is a really nice hardcover version of this. Earlier I showed the paperback version that I have. There's another Clive Cussler, Atlantis Found, a Dirk Pitt novel. So it must be Dirk Pitt's like one of Clive Cussler's recurring characters in his novels. But yep, it's got Atlantis in the title. I gotta read it. Harry Turtledove, United States of Atlantis, a novel of alternate history. I've heard about this one, like watching YouTube videos on Atlantis. I've heard people talking about this one. This one must be pretty good. I've heard of Harry Turtledove, but I don't know anything about him. The New View Over Atlantis, John Mitchell. It's a really cool cover. Very cool cover. It's a trade paperback. But I'm not sure exactly what this is about. Books, Woodstock, New York. One of the great seminal books of our generation will be argued about for decades to come. Colin Wilson again, so that's good to have a Colin Wilson blurb. That's cool. It means your book's probably kind of neat, intriguing. So this is probably another scientific research type book. Imagining Atlantis, Richard Ellis. I'm guessing this is another research book. History of Atlantis. There's Edgar Casey. Speaking of Atlantis, Ignatius Donnelly. He wrote one of the other books that I showed earlier, Ignatius Donnelly. And last but not least, Planet X Forecast and 2012 Survival Guide. I guess this is about 15 years out of date at this point, but this is what this book is talking about, how Planet X comes in and out of our solar system, and when it passes by our sun, by our planet, it causes destruction, causes the pole shift, basically. But yeah, there's my collection of Atlantis books. Thought that would be a good way while I'm waiting for dinner to cook in the oven right now. I've got a ham in there. I've got some baked corn in there. My wife's got some cheesy potatoes in there. Cheesy potato bake-off for Easter dinner here coming up pretty soon. So I figured this was a good way to wait until the cook time was done. Spend a little time with you on Easter. I hope you had a good Easter. And I hope you liked books on Atlantis, because I got a ton of them. Anyway, happy Easter from Atlantis. Happy Easter from me, old nerd. I'll see you in the next one.